In a moment, we'll have reaction in Washington, D.C., where Tom Ackerman is standing by. But first to Neave Barker, who's been following developments in Paris. Neave, the French have been wavering in the last few days. John Kerry seeking a more firm support from the French government. Did he get it in Paris?
Well, it does appear as if France has reiterated its stance in its desire to stand side by side with the Americans when it comes to a possible intervention in the Middle East, when it comes to possible strikes against Bashar al-Assad. I think out of this press conference, one of the most interesting points made by the French foreign minister was to defend allegations that against the accusations that France had somehow isolated itself on the global stage. The foreign minister made a very long list of examples of how members of the EU, members of the G8, G20 and Arab League were now widely joining a kind of broader coalition in support of taking some kind of action. But what he failed to mention, of course, is that no other states other than the French and the Americans have actually gone so far as saying that they will militarily intervene. And of course, one of the key points made by John Kerry is that he feels that both France and the Americans need to stand side by side, not only out of some sort of sense of historical solidarity between the two nations, but also because he firmly believes that doing something is better rather than doing nothing at all. So both France and the US reiterating their stance that intervention is most certainly the way forward.
Okay, Neave, thank you very much. Neave Barker live for us in Paris. Let's cross now to Tom Ackerman in Washington, D.C. Tom, the Obama administration also trying hard to make a case for intervention in the U.S. itself and a much anticipated vote in the Congress in the next few days. What's the timeline on that, and how are they doing so far in selling this case for intervention?
Just a few minutes ago, the White House reported to media here that the president was briefed today by his national security advisor about the ongoing contacts with members of Congress, trying to convince those who are leaning against, undecided, or firmly against any kind of authorization from Congress, making the case, the kind of case that the president repeated in his weekly address to the nation, videotape address to the nation, which was broadcast again today on radio and television here. But there are no new arguments, none that have not already been phrased by the president himself during his European trip, and again that he is expected to reiterate in a speech to the nation on Tuesday night. That is a really a very signal moment, because on Wednesday, the U.S. Senate is due to vote on the first procedural vote, which is crucial on this authorization. And it would require basically 60 out of 100 votes, not just a simple majority. Right now, the majority leader of the Senate, Senator Harry Reid, has said that he thinks he will get the 60 votes. But beyond that, we don't know at all what the outcome is in the House, where, according to one count by the media here, it's running 6-1 against voting for authorization, at least those people who are leaning against or firmly against, 6-1 versus those who say that they're on record favoring the president's position.
Tom, we heard some very strong language from Secretary of State Kerry in Paris just now. He talked about the lessons of the Second World War. He talked about Munich. Who do you think that message was intended to? Was it for an international audience, or perhaps more for the people back home?
Well, I think it was meant basically to appeal to Europeans who obviously have very visceral recollections and remembrances of what preceded World War II. But he used the phrase "a clear and effective response" to the Syrians. And the question is here in the United States whether that clear and effective response is at all indicated by what the president has said he will do, because there are no details, given the fact that the president has made firm assurances that there will be no American boots on the ground to follow up with whatever kind of strike the Pentagon is planning. That would be actually an effective response in a war which, to many Americans, certainly those who are opposed to getting into a military intervention regard this as an internecine fight among various factions within Syria, and not the way that Secretary Kerry has portrayed it.
Tom, thank you very much. Tom Ackerman, live for us in Washington, D.C.